Wow, that was a start. Good morning, everyone. And thank you all for your offerings of good health and recovery. It was just a cold, but it was an ugly, noisy cold, if you get my drift. And I just couldn't condemn you to an hour and more of blowing my nose and clearing my throat. I'm really, really happy to be here today, and we're going to start continuing to build on the message of 2 weeks ago. And that is of trying to figure out and secure those that are most important to us, the things that are most important to us. All right. And these are things that began as infants, but they are still true today. We have an increased ability to sense innately. It's fundamental to us as humans. Who and what will nurture and care for us? Who will comfort us? Who here today, at times in your life, doesn't need someone to comfort you? But primarily, we need to be able to also learn to comfort ourselves, all right? And for so many of us, that's where this challenge with what boils right down to something as boring as self-regulation and the ability to follow up and give ourselves what we need in order to start, even just start, reaching out for the goals that we most want and also need. And so the prevailing cultural advice from parents, all right, you had to be there. I was a parent through that period. It was really poor advice as it turned out. And it might very, very well have heavily influenced by contradicting what we now know to be fact, that our basic primal needs as defenseless, vulnerable infants can only be met. And so that is also true, all right, as adults. We become more complex. We develop more neurons that can, kind of bridge the synapses in our brain to send us better, more complicated, targeted messages that should energize us, should make it possible for us to activate on what we want in our life, but they can only be met right back in the beginning, all right? And still somewhat true. What is true today, however, that what was true as a child is still true, but not necessarily restricted to the same method of meeting those needs. So I'm getting kind of complicated here. It can only be met, meeting our primal needs. Those are the needs that make us feel safe, make us feel like we are taken care of at a primal level, though. And we're not talking about wishes and wants. We're talking about emotional, physical, spiritual safety and balance, all right? They can only be met as a child by a reliable, ideally consistent, nurturing person who does what? Responds to our primal. This is reptilian brain. Remember 2 weeks ago, we talked about the different sections of the brain. This is happening in the sustain life part of your brain. What we tell, what the chemistry is in our brain that says, this is survival. This is not what will make you feel good. All right. This is at a survival level. You've got to really understand that. So this reliable, ideally consistent, nurturing person needed to respond to our primal cries for relief. Relief from what? From what as an infant we experienced as not just uncomfortable, but actually threatening sensations of hunger. So life depended on it, survival depended on it for that infant. Hunger, soiling, isolation, and need for comforting human contact. Interestingly, that need for all of those things, hunger and ability to meet our bodily needs, isolation. If we didn't learn that one through COVID, we're never going to learn it more than the experiences of isolation in COVID. Nobody did well emotionally, even physically necessarily, as a result of that form of isolation. And comforting human contact. We are social beings. However, right now, what I'd like you to do is to bring what was true for the infant, all right, and is still in our primal reptilian brain. Now let's bring it to today. So ask yourself now, where is that comforting human contact that you need, that I need? Where is that? Take a second and think about it. For you, where is it being met currently? If it's not being met currently adequately, how long has that been? Are you living in a period of your life, it won't be forever, where you're suffering lack and deprivation? All right? It's unquestionably a major basis for what happened as a child, how those needs were met reliably. And we, right at the point of perceiving our survival, we're comforted, we're fed adequately, we're kept comfortable as far as bodily needs. We felt safe. We developed, it's a kind of organic thing in your brain where you develop more neurons. And remember, we also said as babies, we're kicking out neurons. We're developing neurons like that. And that is the firing of our brain. That is the ability for our brain to respond. All right. We still need that, but we slow down as adults. So this initial thing that I'm telling you about, this relationship to security, basically, all of those things equate to security. Those set the tone, set the path for how we approach childhood, adolescence, and adulthood. And as we age, we don't lose those needs. We need to then start to be that reliable, consistent caretaker, caregiver. To who? To ourselves. Because no parents did this perfectly. That is just not humanly possible. All right? If you've ever had a newborn, you know that the after effects for fathers and mothers are confusing. You are never more exhausted. It's probably when they go to school that you start to get a full night's sleep. Sleep deprivation is considered like a war crime thing if you deprive people of sleep. All right, so no parents did this perfectly. So my message to you is, you and I, to the extent that it wasn't done adequately enough, and maybe we've got some residual sensitivities, vulnerabilities, we need to start parenting ourselves and be that reliable, comforting, consistent caregiver to ourselves. So the knowledge that we're safe physically, now this is true today, it certainly was true for the infant. Physically, all levels, mentally, emotionally, and in a non-religious way, spiritually. I'm talking about our spirit within, all right? Regulation Reliability, the ability to show up for ourselves, is about being in balance, right? And is this a mysterious thing that is amorphous and we can't actually manage to develop in ourselves? No, it's not. We absolutely can pick up the ball and run with it as soon as we build the awareness of what's lacking. Where are we more vulnerable? And that is different for each and every one of the 35, 36 people who are here today. All right. Where are you vulnerable? All right. So what we need to do is develop the skills, really, to reestablish that sense of balance, that sense of safety, that not perfect safety. We're talking good enough. This may be a concept that is not comfortable to anybody out there with any element of perfectionism. You got to watch that perfectionism. It sets you up for defeat. So if that's you, anybody of the 36 people here, if that's you, you have to kind of babysit that one. Keep your eye on it, and every time it rears its ugly head and starts making demands on you, starts talking you out of something, there's no point, I want you to put it on a leash. I want you to really track it and not let it take control, all right? Because we can develop the skills. When life or relationship events disturb that balance, being self-regulated, write this down. When life or relationship events disturb an adequate balance in our life, an adequate feeling of okayness and safety, preparedness, being self-regulated to a healthy degree is a cornerstone. If you think of a table, all right, and you take away one of the legs, do you have a stable table? No. Take that leg called self-regulation and you get it back into place the best you can. All right. And then let's look at securing it in our lives. Right now, I want you to stop, get that paper and pen that I asked you to hold on to, and ask yourself this. Right now, today, to what degree are you feeling at this moment balanced? We're not talking perfection. We're talking, managing. I'm balanced. I'm managing. All right. If you aren't feeling well balanced, balanced enough, I want you to answer this. Is it just a momentary blip? Okay. Just because maybe of a recent situation that has happened? Or has that experience of being on or on the verge of being out of control, balanced, unbalanced, has that been around for too long? Has it become an uncomfortable friend who drops in at will? Lock the door, don't answer it. All right. Even if you can't entirely solve that feeling of disquiet or just not quite there immediately, right now, this moment, let's stop. You get out, keep that paper and pen handy. I've got a few little things I want you to make note of. Okay, and I ask you to keep close by, all right, that paper and pen. Just consider, and then write it down when the first word that comes to you, first word, one thing among all the other things you feel you can't do or you legitimately, realistically can't do right now. What is the one thing? What is the first thing that's doable that you can do to move yourself out of that feeling of just not quite right? All right. What is the one thing that you can do? What are you doing when you do that? That is the first step to reclaiming. Asking yourself that question, what can I do? What's the basis for that answer? The basis for that answer is very simply the answer to those three questions that I keep asking you to ask yourself. Right now, in this moment, in this time frame, what do I need? Where is it? There will always be enough of it, all right, to make enough of a difference. And how do I get enough of it to make enough of a difference? And the answer to that, okay, is right in front of you. There is always, at your worst moments, there is always something that each and every one of us, myself included, can do to reclaim enough control, all right, that it gives you all you're looking for. You're not looking for the ultimate solution. That's too big. That doesn't happen in one step. That doesn't happen in one day, all right? To give enough control that you feel enough relief, just enough that you need. We have a whole lot of systems that are continually monitoring us. They're sort of like radar, all right, within our body. And they're doing it within our body. Okay, how are we doing? They're doing it in the outside world. Is this a safe and habitable place to be? All right, we do this automatically. We're getting data all the time. We don't even realize it. We do this. Why? Because your mind, your body, and that energy inside you that I call our spirit, okay, are always trying to heal you. First and foremost, they are always trying to keep you safe. But you need to engage and be a willing participant. All right. They're sending you all the information you need to keep us safe and to tell us the best idea of what is possible right now that will move us into better balance. Your system's working for you. All right. Listen to it and then do what one thing in a row by baby steps you can do to get in the neighborhood of where you want. They're looking for, and you, these are some hints, people. This is nothing new. All right. Do you have enough food and of the right type to promote energy? Or are you killing yourself like I was with sugar? Who knew there was so much sugar in everything? All right. Heaven's sake, you'd think it was air. All right. The most unlikely places. Right. I'm not pitching get rid of sugar. I'm just saying watch what you're feeding yourself. All right, because your energy will be the end result. What you're not feeding yourself to. Are you hydrated? Hydrated, all right, puts you into a not hydrated, puts you into a deficit. And your body will respond at a primal level to enhance whatever negatives are already existing in your day-to-day. Are you breathing? Are you breathing in the upper part of your chest just enough to sustain life? When was the last time you stopped and gave yourself enough oxygen at a cellular level? Do you know you can put yourself, I'm not kidding, I've seen this happen as a social worker with people. You can put yourself into a panic if you don't breathe properly, if you don't give yourself enough oxygen at a cellular level. When was the last time you actually stopped and on a regular basis gave yourself the benefit of belly breathing, when was the last time? Could you make that part of your day? All right, you've just put one small weight, well, one significant weight actually, on the side of the scale that gets you to where you need to be. Right now, of the food, water, oxygen, what are your antennae telling you right now? Too much coffee? Not enough of something else? When we're regulated, when we regulate our systems, all right, they will tell us what and where enough of what we need is. And when we don't give our system enough of the basic things it needs, because we feel depressed, because we feel stressed, because whatever that negative is on the other side, that stress is what occurs. All right. Our body is designed to create stress when the demand for those basic things, all right, are challenged in a way that takes us for a sufficiently long period of time out of balance. Why? Stress is not a bad thing. Stress is supposed to be the signal to make an adjustment, not to hit the couch, not to not get out of bed. The stress is a signal. Okay, guys, we are not in balance here. Let's do the basics and build from there. Now I want to ask you, because I want this not to be some lecture on whatever, all right? I want this to be something that you can actually use today moving forward, that once we plant that information, it's going to work for you. It will pop up if you let it. It will remind you at the time you most need it. So ask yourself right now, please, what has stressed you? What has been stressing you this past week? Write it down. Don't just think it. It won't stay in your mind. But if it's on your list, you can come back to it and say, oh, yeah, okay. And make sure it's not on that list the next time you sit down for the next podcast next week. Okay. And if it is, ask for help. Now I want you to ask yourself, how frequently do you experience that level of stress and that specific stress? All right. I want to stop right now with you, and I want you to name the stressors. What are the stressors? Good starting point is this last week. Better starting point is, if anything this week was the week before, the week before, the week before, the week before. Actually, as far back as I can remember. All right. Okay. Write them down. I want you to name them. Sorry, that's that cold thing coming back. All right. Now, beside each one of them, I want you to put a letter. I want you to put a C for constantly. I want you to put an F if that stress or stressor isn't constant, but it's frequent. It's an unwanted neighbor that drops by frequently, uninvited. Okay. Put an O for occasionally. Or put an N for, you know what? That's not actually a normal occurrence. C for constant, F for frequent, O for occasional, N for not normal. Not normally, no. Now, looking at your list, ask yourself this, because this is doable. If the path to those, whatever led to those, whatever fed those stressors to occur, if that was a highway that you had to drive down every day, because some of the events that resulted in those stressors, those are things that you have to do every day. But if it was a highway that you had to drive down every day to get to somewhere you wanted and needed to be, which of those letters would prompt you to find another path? Now circle those stressors. The ones with the letters that would prompt you to find another path. If it was as simple as turning the wheel of a car or taking your bicycle if you don't have a car, or walking, and you would take another path knowing down that path, there is a stressor. And you know what? Today, I just don't want to carry it. Or you work around it. I don't want to pay the price. I don't want to pay the price by having to absorb the aggravation and have to engage in the recovery of what that stressor is going to cost me. Because stress and disappointment on a daily, day-to-day basis, all right, is going to dysregulate you. It's going to. Why? Because it upsets the balance and it uses up all of the extra you have. So managing stress is hugely important. Now, some stressors, they're part of daily life. All right. But ask yourself right now, for those ones you've circled, right now, today, what stops you other than the habit of not being clear about clear of how to do it, or what the alternatives might be that you actually have available to you to minimize those stressors or eliminate them, or allow you to make a considered decision about how to work around them so they don't exact the same price. Because the alternatives and the ability to mitigate the effect of that stress, that is changeable. All right. Sometimes it's not easy, but it is changeable. The alternatives are out there. So which of the letters besides stressful events do you believe right now? And I want you to put a big U beside it. Okay, which of those stressors, particularly the ones that you have circled, do you actually, in your heart of hearts, believe are unsolvable? Put a U beside it. Put a U beside any that you really, in your heart of hearts, believe are unsolvable. And what is the first word that comes to your mind about why? One word, why? Why is it unsolvable? Okay. And that is the elephant in the room getting in your way. And then I would like you, okay, if you can, if you know how to do this, open up my email right now, elaine.birchall@hoarding.ca, or do it immediately after this podcast. And I'd like you to send me the answers, what letters you put beside those stressors, all right? And then I'd like you to put what makes rethinking the path that leads to that stressor unsolvable for you. Why? Because that will become the subject of an upcoming podcast. There are answers. There are alternatives. Do they necessarily solve the stressor in one go? No, but they do let you get a stranglehold on it. All right. They do let you figure out less of being overwhelmed by it and more of being abled, not disabled, but abled. You only need enough of abled to get through or past something, even if it's something that you have to face regularly, like a disability, for instance, or a really bad relationship that sucks the energy out of you. All right. But that for whatever other reasons you choose not to end, no matter what, there are always better answers. I'm not being a Pollyanna. It's just sometimes we need help to find them. And I'd be prepared to make them, whatever the diversity of those answers and questions and opinions are. All right, I would be prepared to do whatever research is necessary, even if it isn't my specialty, and bring you the best information available to start you off and keep you going. All right. And that's true for everyone, myself included. No one is perfect. You are not deficient. You are not broken. All right. You are probably overwhelmed, especially if you believe that you can't change things that really aggravate you and suck the energy out of you, or that you can't make yourself change things for your better good. All right. Now, we have some much better ideas, okay, personally, for each and every one of you, of what is moving us away, not just what's bringing us to a grinding halt. That list with the letters beside it, with the specific items, tasks, what experiences circled, now you've got a whole lot better information about what the boogeyman is, all right? And it's personal to you. And I can guarantee you, anything that you put on that list that is a frequent or ongoing, constant, and that you circled, is moving you away from regulating yourself. And that equals buying on for unbalanced. That's not in a mental way, like crazy way unbalanced. That's in you're always compensating. You're always compensating for the thing that unbalances you. How can you possibly stay on target? How can you possibly, just ask yourself, all right, before you start self-blame, before you start eroding your confidence, that's not where the problem is. All right. The problem is it starts with you give yourself half a chance for the basics of regulating yourself. It's called healthy boundaries and limits, so you're not constantly being eroded, and good self-care. Good self-care is not babying yourself. It's asking yourself the tough questions and listening to the answers. And then asking yourself, what do I need because of that? Where is it? And how do I get enough of it to make enough of a difference? And now you're on the path. If you answer those questions, now you're on the path to being regulated, and the balance you want is just ahead on that path, not on the paths that lead to those circled experiences on your list. It isn't rocket science. There's nothing wrong with you. All right, that can't be filled, that can't be supported. We all need support. We all need support. All right. Okay. So don't buy on for staying out of balance, because when we become dysregulated, all that's going to do, I write this down. It isn't a benign thing to be unregulated. I don't care if you've got ADHD or not. I don't care if you've got ADD or not. I don't care if you've got OCD or not. I don't care if you've got depression, anxiety, any others. It doesn't matter. That is the path you're on right now. Do you want to stay on that path? No. Okay. The person with ADHD, ADD, OCD, anxiety, depression, whatever the other list is, even addiction. All right, even addiction, bipolar. There is always, always, always something that you can do that is perhaps specific to this comorbidity, this other situation that you're living with. There's always something you can do to get yourself to a better level of regulation, self-regulation, because that's where balance and peace and those goals, all right? So being dysregulated is only going to result in one thing. You're going to feel discomfort. And if you feel discomfort long enough, just like that infant in a soiled diaper who had a rumbly tumbly, all right, you're going to feel distressed. All right. When we get back into a better balance, not perfect balance, we feel better. Right now, today, what do you need to do that will fill one of those needs well enough, and you will feel better? Maybe it's isolation. All right, we're still not entirely out of COVID, and now we got the flu season. I have to tell you, we're going to run over a little because I have to tell you the story of my yesterday. I'll tell you, oh my goodness sakes. All right, and when we feel better, guess what we're going to feel? We're going to feel relief. Perfect. Are we going to be perfect? No, we're not. But we're going to feel the relief because it's going to feel a whole lot different from the distress. All right. It's a scientific fact. So it will be true for you, just like it's true for me, that getting back into better balance, and fighting for it and warding off all of the things that compromise that balance, all right? Scientific fact that it activates the reward network to the brain. Does that just sound like scientific gobbledygook? Because that one sentence right there answers all of the questions that every one of you have asked me about. I just can't get started. I know what I want to do, but I just can't get started. You can't get started because you're settling for that unbalanced distress like it's your normal. No, it's only your normal because you haven't allowed yourself to experience enough of the other side of the relief. When you do that one thing that I asked you to itemize that you can do. And when you can do that, move forward a little bit more. Put another thing that you can do on the list. When you feel the pleasure of not even perfect success, all right, but just it feels more possible. That is that sense of your personal balance becoming better. So I have to tell you this story. Okay. In pursuit of my adventure to Uganda at the end of December, I recognized, after I committed to it, really and truly just how complicated some of the things I absolutely had to be able to do if I didn't want 4 poor little African guys to be carrying me into the jungle to the gorillas with great shame and embarrassment, that I actually had to do. Okay. This week was the Blitz. All right. I want to tell you about the Blitz. It gives me peace of mind, but I tell you, It was really uncomfortable. What is your equivalent of what would be really uncomfortable? Yesterday, I am like a pincushion today. Both of my arms hurt, all right, badly. I had 6 vaccines for everything known to man that is possible for me and likely for me to come in contact with. Typhoid, Hep A. I just stopped listening to the list. I have it down somewhere. Yellow fever. I will be taking pills for malaria. All right. And there were some that, thank heavens, I didn't need. All right. And folks, for the pleasure of that, I had to pay an awful lot of money. That's out of my budget now, not available for other things that I really would like to have used, or maybe if I was more sensible, I should have invested in other things. But I have a goal, and that goal became a whole lot more important, not just for me, but to bring it to you as well and to itemize it for you. As soon as I get a little better with the GoPro 360 camera, a lot of this you're going to get little snippets of on social media and on the website, so you can actually see what it costs. Okay. I'm not putting a cheery face on this. I'm not exaggerating, but it is the price for getting the protection from the side effects that I sure don't want to pay. And that is no different than the side effects that you pay for each of those things that you itemized and you have circled. This is an equal path. There's no difference. You don't want to pay the price for those. I don't want to pay the price for the other. And we're both. There's a cost. Okay. So, and it started this week that the person, I self-admit, who can work for 18 hours a day and absolutely love it. All right. Feel chuffed and yeah, that's great. But not talk herself into taking the car to go 2 to 3 blocks to anywhere. You think that's a bit of a contradiction? All right. But that's me. All right. Excuse alert, excuse alert, excuse alert, because she's so busy, which she is. How much do you want it, Elaine? How much do you want? What isn't on that list, that stress list? It's the same. I had to face, okay, the reality, and it was an unpleasant reality. I mean, before it was just, oh yeah, I can do that. Oh yeah, okay, well, I'll do that. Okay, I'll start there. Okay, didn't start. Hafsa and I, maybe 2 months ago, started to walk a few days in the morning, and they were significant. They were also very painful. And then I kind of fell off the wagon. And then I realized, self-admit, I'm not perfect. It's an investment and it's tough. I had to say to myself, okay, Elaine, it is now 10 weeks until you will be trekking, okay, in a slimy hot jungle. Are you ready? Okay, ostrich girl, get your head out of the sand. What do you need to do? Now, you could lie flat on that sedan chair, and really, that is the way you wanted to do this? All right, no, that's not palatable. That is not who you are. So I had to face the unpleasant reality that the gorillas were not coming to me. And no one was going to drive me into the jungle to make this effort that I'm joining you in right now to avoid it. All right. So I'm hoping that I can teach you through my own suffering to show you the raw, hard facts, and you can translate that into your own investment in your own way to get the dream and goal that you want. right now and moving forward. And that is probably to make your living environment and your life a more pleasant, supportive place where you can live the life you want to live. You can have people in. You cannot worry about being found out by officials. You don't have to put up with anybody else's opinion or their criticism or that self-criticism or their cheap advice. All right. So to that end, I want to do a little bit. I don't want to share the reality of this. And at the same time, I would seriously not have believed this was possible. I'm not exaggerating. I would not have believed this was possible. And I am not Wonder Woman. I have a badly herniated disc in the top of my neck. I have a blown disc at the base of my spine with a Harrington rod that is secured to the base of my spine. I have 74-year-old knees. I have a left ankle that has been broken twice. And I have sore feet. All right. However, that's current. All right. I have those challenges and I'm not whining about it, but I am factoring them in. And I want to tell you what was possible. All right. Okay. So, and the whole thing is so that I will be ready to do my part. All right. To get to where the gorillas will be, because they aren't coming to me. No matter how much I want it, no matter how much I pay other people, if I had that kind of money, to bring the gorillas to me, that is not coming to me. All right. So I have to close the gap. I have to close the gap. All right. Just like you have to close your gap. And many, many other people have asked me, all right, what can I do to make starting, to start, which is the hardest part possible? None of us are Superman or Superwomen. And I'm not any different from you. So yes, I am a therapist and I do help people with their clutter and hoarding difficulties and challenges. And that's not easy, but starting was not any easier for me. I can't say that enough. All right. At 8 o'clock, 7:30 in the morning, rolling over and thinking, oh, today's the day. Okay, isn't there any reason why we can't do it? Today is the day. Oh, and I had to face the fact that, you know what, you might actually fail. Maybe all those reasons that I just listed, maybe they are going to be more. What's that going to feel like? That's going to really jeopardize any version of this being an achievement. I sure don't want to be doing that. If people are watching so that you can show them the raw truth of what it takes to get started and stay started. So my norm would have been a little under 2,000 steps a day, even if I am working 16 hours a day. Okay, there's not a lot. There is some, but there isn't a lot of walking in what I do. Okay. And so that means it's not giving me what I need in order to do what I need to do to reach this goal. And I want you to identify with this, not just be a spectator, okay, on my suffering. While I reach whatever goals I am able to reach, I want you to ask yourself, when I bring this to you, this isn't an applaud Elaine. This is about, okay, what do I need to do that is equivalent for you to reach your goal, the goal that's important to you? And then the next day, after just under 2,000 steps, I walked by sheer determination because I didn't want to do it. I really don't like walking that much, and I didn't believe that I could. I walked 3,882 steps, 2.7 kilometers. All right. Okay. And I thought, well, it beats under 2,000. And you know what? I was dragging my sorry behind. All right. I was dragging my sorry behind to get to 3,882. The next day I thought, oh, here we go again. I walked, and all I didn't know I would do this. I just added one, like in the middle of what I was doing, I said, can I take that slightly longer path? We're talking slightly here. And every part of my body and mind screamed, no, don't be stupid. Get home and have another coffee. All right. But that part that said, okay, the gorillas aren't coming to you, Elaine. And you do not want to be carried into or out of this jungle on that sedan chair. All right. The next day, I walked 4,656 steps. Whoop, whoop. All right. That was 3 point something kilometers. The day after that, I won't belabor this, and not by any deliberate intent, just by seeing what was the next possibility that felt doable. What is your equivalent? What is your equivalent for your dream? The next day, I walked 5,053 steps, and I wanted an Olympic medal. Okay, I wanted an Olympic medal. That is still only 3.6 kilometers. And the minimum for the closest gorillas, all right, is about 5 kilometers and up. We have a ways to go, people. All right, you getting the gist here? All right. I did this not by full intent of, okay, I have to do over 5,000. I just wondered as I was on my way to repeating 3882, if I took that, and can I do it? I don't want to have to go into the neighbor's house and ask somebody to come and get me. Okay. Can I do that? Do I believe I can do it? Sometimes those last few steps, I deserved a medal. I thought they weren't giving them out, however, so I had to be satisfied with. Okay, you did it. So it's baby steps. The next day, sore feet, all right, I did 5,983 steps. A little disappointed that it didn't cross 6,000, but and when I looked at it, I thought, oh, this must be 10,000. When I looked at it and I thought, oh, it's only how many more to 6,000? I didn't have it in me. Me and my feet and my lower back didn't have it in me. So I made myself be satisfied, not discouraged, not satisfied. It's not good enough. Okay, that's what it is for today. Tomorrow's another day, Scarlett. Okay. So the next day, I walked 9,507 steps. Why? Because I taught myself. I've never walked 9,000 steps in my life. I taught myself an experience I hadn't had in all of my years of being on this earth. And that was, if you just set a slightly smaller goal, you can do it. You don't have to give up when you feel, I've had enough. You can actually ask yourself, are you capable of that? Not do you want to, does it feel good, whatever. And as soon as my feet were yelling, no, don't even think of it. All right. That's how I got to 9,507 steps. All right. Because I gave myself that little experience of, Elaine, you didn't die. Your feet actually, your feet weren't. But you know what? Actually, the more you kept moving, the easier actually it got. That is just an experience of distress, all right, limitation, but it's not real. You weren't any worse off at 9,007 steps. You sure weren't at 5,983 better than 5,053. Okay, I Carrie, I did get orthotics. I have to have them adjusted a tiny bit though, later today. That did help. And the right walking boots, that really made, and my walking poles. What aids, what things do you need? You know what? I can walk 9,507 steps without my walking poles. But do you know what my walking poles, I realize, do? They're not about balance. They're not about doing anything I can't do on my own. They're, in an odd kind of way, they give me a cadence that I keep up with. They set whatever the pace. They set the pace, and it externalizes it. We're not having an internal fight. When the pole moves forward, my foot moves forward. When the pole moves forward, my foot moves forward. Who knew? I didn't do this on my own. All right, but hold on to your hats, people, because, okay, the next day I walk, who knew? All right, 12,274 steps. All right. And I started to pay an uncomfortable price in my feet. Now, I didn't damage anything, but clearly, and that was not bravado. That was, can you take the dogs another walk around the block? All right. I didn't do 12,274 steps all in one go. All right. I did probably my 5, and then another 3, and then another whatever. But I went out about 4 times that day and had smaller and larger things. Okay. So I forced myself, though. I factored in my successful progression from the 3s and 4s to the 6707. Now, the 12,000 taught me a lesson, that every so often you need a break. All right. Because at the end, when I got back and I was walking, I thought, oh, you've done it now. Only when you stop do you realize that, not when you're walking. Okay. Oh, you've done it now. And so I took a break the next day. But guess what a break was? 6,707 steps felt like nothing. Okay. And I want you to realize from this experience, this is not about me bragging about how far I can walk. This is about the lessons we learn that are right there. And if we're not able to give ourselves what we need, enough of what we need, we're missing something. We're missing challenging ourselves in a way that is doable, baby steps, to have that experience. From the first day, you can't walk 3,000 steps. You can't walk that far. You can't. Here are all the reasons. And then thinking, okay, you know what? I am going to do it. And maybe somebody's going to have to take me to emerge. All right. But I'm going to find out. And one day, what really taught me a lesson was having a backup plan. All right. So I took my cell phone with me, and I told people at home, look, I don't know how long I'm gone. I don't know how far I'm going to be able to walk, but I want to be able to walk with the orthotics, with the shoes, with the walking poles. I want to be able to walk out as far as I can stand it, not one more step. All right. And then I want to know that is my limit, because when I'm going out and then I'm coming back, I don't actually know what my limit is. I limit it by the goal I set. Do you hear me? I'm 74 years old and I just learned that one. Yes, I am. I have a birth certificate to verify it. Yes. Okay. I'm still learning lessons. Do you need to learn lessons? What lessons are you not giving yourself the chance to learn? I wouldn't have believed that. I walked full out. Now, did I have, and then, cheeky me, I thought, this feels as far as you can walk. Like you really don't feel safe going very much further. Okay. But I wonder if I turned around at this like maximum safe point and I started to walk back at a slower pace. Okay. Not full out like I was when I got to this point. If I did that, I wonder how far I could actually get back. And I did, because you know what? I have a backup. I have my cell phone here in my fanny pack, and I can call for help, and I can sit somewhere and wait. You know what I did? This is not, no applause, people. What I did was taught myself a lesson. Be careful. Be careful when you decide this is the limit. I walked all the way home. I walked all the way home. I ended up walking 6 kilometers. You know what I taught myself? You know what the silly reward was? First of all, taking off my shoes and walking in my sandals. The silly reward I gave myself, very satisfying though, built my confidence. I didn't have that confidence before in my ability to walk. All right. It gave me something to say, if you just go at your own pace, all right, you can get there. And guess what? The minimum is 5 kilometers. So you know you can do that. That was like being given a precious gift, because it almost locked in my confidence that I don't have to be afraid of anything. I don't have to worry about anything. I know that I can walk at least the minimum. At least the minimum. Now I know I can walk more than the minimum, but I really needed to know, to have the confidence that I could walk the minimum. All right. What's the takeaway for you? How does that, if you can, relate that to your life and what your limit really truly is? And if you went at your pace, that thing that you've circled and put an asterisk beside that is the barrier to that goal, by baby steps, enhancing your confidence just a little bit at a time. Are you sure that's your limit? Because my limit was as far as I could perceive my limit being, and it didn't turn out to be true. That's the lesson I want to leave you with today from my experience. And I don't mean to be a Pollyanna. I don't mean to be preachy. I just want each and every one of you that invests and joins me, invests in this podcast, in even considering the information I bring to you. I want you not to be limited by that thing you tell yourself that really, truly isn't true. And if you need help, where are your walking poles? All right. Where are your better supports? Where is the self-care? Where is the self-care that you need? Okay. Alina says, Elaine, your story getting ready for the trip is so encouraging. You are walking the walk. I am walking the talk. I don't believe in sitting here and preach. I was talking to a professional the other day who does a different type of counseling. And I don't mean to be judgmental, but something really startled me when they said, yeah, I tell them that too. That, you know, and then they said, but I can't follow my own advice. And I thought, oh my goodness. And I didn't judge. I just was sort of like, I never tell anybody anything that I don't make myself do. And I'm not looking to be wonderful. It's not what that's about. It's just, you have to be honest. Okay. Otherwise, it's just cheap advice. You have to be honest. And just because you can do that doesn't mean that everybody else can do exactly the same thing. But even if there is a takeaway message today, people, please, please, please let it be. Send me the email with those answers, by the way. Come on, you've got 36 people here. I want 36 emails. All right. I want 36 emails with that list and what the barrier is. All right. And please don't be limited by the limits of your vision and what your confidence level is. Because I know if you come here every week and you bring your hope with you, you can do a lot more than you believe. And I want you to do it in ways that are meaningful for you in your life. That's what this is all about, this story today. And I don't guarantee that every day will be a success, but I'm going to get even better at the GoPro Max 360 camera, and I'm going to start wearing it so you can witness the agony. Anyway, I've got to let you go now, people. I have to go get my orthotics adjusted a little. You take care, and I will see you next week. Take care, everybody. And I want those 36 emails.